Okay, can you hear me now? Oh wow, this is pretty sensitive here. Okay. Hey, how do I hear how loud I sound?
Put on the earphones.
Yeah, I had them on. There's no. Last time there was like a second delay between what I
No,
said and.
now you hear it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but you're gonna have to bring it up. That I would put it 0. Let's see, group 1 to 2. I don't know. Actually, does that turn it off or does that do anything?
I don't know. Let me. No, that doesn't do anything.
Okay, that's fine then. This one I would put at 0. Is this your mic?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. And then your monitor. Let's see where your headphones should be at. That setting. Is that too loud?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Now I
Well,
can't
these
hear
are
it.
the.
Now I can't hear it in my phones. Okay. Yeah.
That's your. Yeah, that should be good.
Okay, so if I can hear it decently, everybody else can too.
Yep.
All right, good deal.
Don't forget to hit record.
Oh, it was already.
Oh, okay.
I didn't swear, did I?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. I hope not. So today, let us see what issues forth from the Jowls of Justice for episode number 2. If you didn't if you didn't tune in my last show, which was 2 weeks ago at this time, then now you've missed it. If you didn't only, what was I saying here? Oh yeah, you are not a true River West hipster if you weren't tuned in last week because 2 weeks ago, because that's the only way you could have been doing it before it was cool. It was still cool then, but I mean, you missed it. If you really want to be a hipster, you missed it. At any rate, though, as I said last time, I did not know that there was going to be a camera, and I wanted to be just a voice on the radio. All right, so then I could be unshaven, unshowered, scowling. Well, I'm going to scowl anyway. I'm a curmudgeon. Um, Wait a second. I don't care if you can see the mic. I'm on the radio. At any rate, though, we're on use new equipment, but whatever. So anyway, I was going to be just a voice on the radio, and then I learned that there was a camera, right? So there goes the thing, like the fat DJ with the skinny voice, right? All those old jokes like that. But the important part for me is that you can now see, some of you can see, that I do not possess. Oh, I forgot to say, the Jowls of Justice with Droopy McGobbler. That's right. That means, right, that even though I don't possess them physically, and the secret is, well, the secret was never kept, then, I would reassure you all that that my inner self, if you will, has serious jowls. I mean, droopers, huge neck gobbler. Oh, yeah. You know, I mentioned Roger Ailes last week, chairman of Fox News, and I feel okay saying that. I don't feel that his secret police are going to come snap me up because, I was complimenting him, and I still do. I say that he has the most majestic jowls of almost any figure that I can think of today. And let's just say that compared to my inner self, his skin is taut and supple. Facial skin, that is to say. So, since it actually is my skin that is youthful, taut and supple, which now is considered to be a bad thing, okay, from the jowl standpoint, you know, let me, now that you understand, right, the magnitude, right, the might of my inner self's jowls, then I would like you to please at least be open-minded and listen to what I have to say as if I had such amazing physical jowls. Now, that being said, I sent a message, a while ago, an email. Hold on, I have to turn my mic up here, bloody thing. I've had stuff going on, okay, in my life. And now I don't know why I can't find this email. However, there we go. I said this. Though jowls shake at me from all sides, jowls of judgment, jowls of condemnation, of disapproval, of exclusion, I maintain the faith that my mighty jowls of fortitude and turkey gobbler of justice will in the end prevail, and I will be jowled with rather than jowled at. Those jowls that droop against me today will tomorrow flap in unison with my own, and all I can do at this point is to keep my chin up and my pendulous slab-like cheeks down. As long as one set of hanger steaks swings in rhythm with my own hefty bags, it is bearable. Now, since I don't talk too much about actual jowls. I usually lead off with it. But at any rate, okay, good. You can't see what I'm doing. That's not anything disgusting, though. But I mean, everybody's got secrets. I bet you, let's see, well, Stephen Colbert would do it, and he gets up a lot, right? We'll skip Bill O'Reilly. But let's say, I don't know, Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer walk around. How about an old one? Let's say you wouldn't know, right, if Dan Rather was wearing trousers. For that matter, even underwear, of whatever sort, under the desk. So I would like to think, actually no, I wouldn't like to think, but now I'm going to put it all in all of your guys' heads, right, that he was half naked, Dan Rather, under the anchor desk. Isn't that awesome? Somewhat. And let me reassure you that you may think this guy is crazy. However, not 2 weeks ago, but 3 weeks ago, I was certified to be sane by your own Milwaukee County mental health, whatever. That is to say, the Hutch. There was a place called Hutchings Psychiatric Center where I grew up. Not in the psych hospital, obviously, but rather, it was the area. It was the area nut house. And so the saying was always, I'm going to end up in the hutch or whatever. But I like weird words. Not just regional slang, right? That kind of stuff. I like old words for things. I like, some regional things, and constructions, right? I don't get the calling green peppers mangoes, calling green bell peppers mangoes in some parts of Pennsylvania. That doesn't seem to make any sense to me. There was some funny story about my uncle and his parents and a bushel of, and them saying a bushel of mangoes. I don't think a bushel of mangoes was actually purchased, but there was some explanation, needed. Speaking of mangoes, I love the things. They're one of my favorite fruits. Not even when I was a kid, since I was a kid, right? One of the things, we're not a big junk food family, and one of the things, right, that we really liked, and that my dad really liked, because, mom goes shopping and gets great stuff. My mom is a wonderful cook, and I didn't even realize that not every mom is, by definition, right, ex officio, I guess you'd say, an expert cook. I learned so much from her. She's still alive. I'm not like saying I learned so much from her and now he's gone. No, I learned so much from her, and now she's definitely still here and still learning from her. But now I have reached the point where, my mother sometimes asks me for one of my recipes, and that, that's quite the thing. Kind of like when you're, at least, well, actually, no, not at least for boys. Unfortunately, more frequently, yes, for boys, but, that's more because of old ideas, right? Outdated ideas, I would say, held by the fathers, right, by the parents. And at any rate, it's just like the first time when you're maybe 12, 13, maybe 14 if you're, slightly built, rather than, well, or even regular. I was always husky and stocky till I started lifting weights and stuff. Not that I do it anymore, but I used to, real big time. Now I'm lazy. I don't feel like exercising, and that's fine. Because soon enough I'll be rich and famous doing this exact thing, except with better cameras and better mics. So anyway, the point is, what? Something happened. Blast. Okay, there we go. So the point is that I wanted to not only talk about Jowls, right, but speaking of the hutch and that sort of thing, right? Reminds me of, makes me want to talk about anger. Okay, I can get angry, get stupid, right? People get angry, but, sometimes it gets out of hand. Okay, everybody knows, everybody has a story, right, about a cousin or a friend of a friend, right, or something they heard or whatever about somebody who gets sent to anger management and then gets booted out of anger management for like fighting or yelling, right? And I actually thought that, I was pretty sure that somebody, not any degrees of separation, right? Someone that I knew well had that happen to him, right? But he was like, no, I did not do anything like that. I got sent to drug class, and then I got booted out and sent to anger management. And that's, that's another funny thing. That's another thing that I find funny about people is, it wasn't, how could you suggest that? What would make you think that? It's not that, it's this, right? As if that's better. This one was certainly funnier, though, because, you get kicked out of anger management, I don't know what happens. You end up in the calabozo, probably. I told you I like weird words. Sometimes get obsessed with them and, have just a great kick out of the words. I know a lot of words, and it's important to choose the right one. One I like a lot is egregious. Right? And that's been funny to me since high school, right? When in the rule book it said if the number of absences becomes egregious, right, then something or other, level 1 probation, I don't even know. But when I learned, when I read it, right, and learned what it meant, it fit well. I think a lot of stuff in life is egregious. I think a lot of stuff becomes egregious. I've been pretty egregious myself. And let me tell you this about that yes, I know that egregious does not generally refer to a person, right, but rather a situation, an action, right, a fact, right, of whatever sort is judged to be egregious. As much as you could say somebody is an egregious person, that actually could have been me for a little while. But that's fine, all right, whatever. I like to mess with people, but more on that later. So, anyway, after the, considering the anger management thing, right, you gotta gotta watch what happens, because the sometimes when the cops get involved, it's not that you get in so much trouble, it's that you look really stupid, right? And generally the media, right, the newspaper will report the stupidest thing you said, especially if you're, shall I say, drunk. Or I don't know, can I say that on the radio if we're gonna get a license? I don't know, I can always beep it out later. We have new equipment, I probably have a beep button, but I don't need it. Surprisingly enough, for those who know me outside of this radio show, I can get going, I can get a little, profane sometimes, but for whatever reason I can suppress it when I'm here. So anyway, I realized that the way I can get around that is by using, right, chiefly British swear words. There's no rule. I can say bugger. I can say bloody. I can even say wanker or tosser. Let's see. I guess I can't say too many bastards, but I don't think it's on the big list. But and so on and so forth. So let's see if I remember to use any of those. At any rate, though, about looking stupid. Okay. If, people look up these things, and if your criminal record, right, it can make you look like, whatever, a drunken buffoon, right, a brawler, whatever, right, looking at, certainly, if somebody has a big record for a big rowdy sheet for stealing, that sort of thing, that wouldn't look very good. But the first time I ever had run-in with the cops, the first case I ever almost caught, as well as this other guy, blah blah, there's a fight, okay, and whatever. And to make a long story short, or actually to skip the entire story, we ended up with state troopers. Now that's troopers, which are not good to encounter. Droopers are great to encounter. But, so we're talking, troopers. And because we each think that we were in the right, nobody denied any details, and the trooper said, okay, the trooper said, okay, right, do you guys really want to press charges against each other? Because either you guys can let it go, right, consider it squashed, or we can charge you both with menacing. Ooh, menacing. Talk about looking at a criminal record, that looks pretty bad. I mean, if you, so if you look like an idiot, right, or whatever, nobody's perfect, right? I don't want to see that, but whatever. Okay, but if the first thing on anything on the first page of your rowdy sheet is menacing, reading this, oh, whoa, he's a menace. That's not good. That's a terrible place to start out. At any rate, though, besides menacing, right, which was funny for a little while, the one of the current words has been brandishing, which I always thought was a great word. And I even developed a rule, a rule of thumb, that, you should never brandish anything, because the only time I ever see that word is in, police reports or something. And it's always the bad guys. Nobody ever said, the victim, the intended victim, brandished whatever, and scared the guy off. Right? Nobody ever says, the cop did that, or the Good Samaritan brandished whatever. No, it's always the bad guy. Okay. And so I always said never brandish anything. Well, you know what? Last time I brandished, yeah, didn't go too well. So, there's a lot of good rules of thumb. When the Berlin Wall was up, right, still, someone I know was doing business in West Germany and was in Berlin, close to the wall. And, of course, there were the guard towers and the barbed wire and so on and so forth. So he, moved very cautiously and later said that his rule of thumb was to never, mess with or agitate the guy with the machine gun. That also is a pretty good rule of thumb. But anyway, oh, that son of a gun. I hate computer stuff. Anyway, when it comes to criminal records, right, being instantly identified as a menace is bad. But there are certain charges, that just, maybe because of my word thing, although I have a couple friends who agree on some of these, that just sound funny, especially if on a rowdy sheet is taken out of context, such as contempt of Congress. I mean, what did you get busted for? Oh, small amount of something you're not supposed to have, or, disorderly conduct, public urination. I think I can say that still on the air, even during the day, right? But if it's, you read this, contempt of Congress, right? This guy, that sounds great. Me personally, I want to get myself subpoenaed before Congress just so I can refuse to testify or moon them or something like that and get charged with contempt of Congress. All they can give you is a year in D.C. jail, right, and a fine. And nobody's ever gotten sent to a year for contempt of Congress. It's something they threaten people with usually, or find them in contempt and then make them do their thing. But the even funnier than that would be contempt of Parliament. That sounds really good. Maybe a little, disrespect for the dignity of the House of Lords and the Chamber, although the House of Commons is much more funny. They have twice as many, in Great Britain, right, in the UK, right? They have twice as many members of the House of Commons as we do, senators and representatives put together. So it can get, it's fun to go see. That would be a good vacation. And what also would be a good vacation, speaking of funny crimes, maybe not as funny as contempt of Parliament, there is, the interesting part is that this is not just one place, with one stupid law like the state where barbers can't eat onions, although that's a very good one. That, who wants a guy, leaning over your head and face with onion breath? And it's terrible. But the elephant can't walk down Main Street, and all that kind of stuff, right? This is at least 3 different places that I can think of. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, okay, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and somewhere else. I forget where it is, so I guess there's 3 I know of, only 2 I can think of. But it is illegal to worry a squirrel. And that is exactly what it sounds like. People said, what's worrying a squirrel? Making a squirrel worried. Because the black squirrel is the symbol, is like the thing of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Now, as for La Crosse, I have no idea, but it doesn't matter. Because it is prohibited in those places to worry, injure, harass, frighten, interfere with. It is illegal to interfere with a squirrel. One place says with any squirrel in any way. And setting dogs on them, for instance, or throwing objects at them, attempting to disturb a squirrel is, an ordinance violation. So people spend $400 on a lot stupider stuff than that. I've probably spent $400 on stupider stuff than this in the last 2 weeks. Well, actually, I know how much, and it's more than that. But that's none of your business, because I'm just a voice on the radio. At any rate, so I think that, you can get it's not jail, you can get a $375 municipal ticket. Okay? And I would go there, right, scare the bejabbers out of all the black squirrels in front of City Hall, or go to La Crosse and just do it, running at them, maybe bring a small dog to set on them, to sick on them, right, throwing, not anything dangerous, but like acorns, right, and, making them run around, all that kind of stuff, right, cops will come, give me my ticket, go to court, pay the ticket, right, for $400, I've got a, permanent citation record, and I can take the ticket and frame it for worrying a squirrel. All right, that sounds good. Now, there are other things that are not good things to do, but still sound kind of funny to me, oh heck, why can't I think of any? Well, at any rate, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. A friend of mine and I have, defrauding an innkeeper. That sounds kind of funny, but it's certainly not a good thing to do. One of the Quaids, Dennis or Randy Quaid, whichever one is worse, got that for something like trashing a hotel room. But that was a while ago. So anyway, right, it's not good to do things that are illegal, right? Except things like worrying squirrels. But pranks, on the other hand, are great. Pranks, and by pranks, let me explain this, okay? Lighting dog turd in a bag at night, that's not a prank, right? Egging, toilet papering, graffiti, right? Prank phone calls, those aren't pranks. Stealing a street sign, that's just dumb, right? Vandalism is vandalism, right? And that's not, that's not a prank. When I'm talking about pranks, okay, I mean, really getting one over on somebody or a few people. So, I don't think I told this story last time. Even if I did, it's still funny. I had been telling the guys in the building I used to live in, who always complained about parking in front of the place, to get their cars into the floodlights in our house. Right? I kept telling them for months, look, just go steal a temporary no parking sign, right? Put it up on this tree, all right, and take it down when you get home every night, so nobody can accidentally get a ticket. So, whatever. Eventually, they had some around where I lived, so I took one of them at night and set it up on the tree. Nobody parked there the next day. Nobody parked there the day after. So, I started thinking. I said, any drunk college kid can steal a street sign, right? Or put up a fake, street sign, or turn the name, the green signs around, or whatever. In fact, you can get in serious trouble, unlike squirrel worrying, for destroying, a stop sign if there's an accident. But those things aren't fun to think about. What is fun is that I said, any drunk college kid can steal a street sign. I'm smarter than that. I can do better, right? So I, a few nights later, went to a couple construction sites and took 3 more of the signs. So nobody noticed anything disappearing from the construction sites. Just take a little bit at a time. So, like stealing a penny from every bank account in the world, except with a few no parking signs. So I hung them up, evenly spaced down the block at the official height, tied the same way, and nobody parked there. The next day, nobody parked there in the morning. Then the day after that, nobody parked there. And I'm getting a kick out of this, right? So I've blocked off this street. I've had nobody parking on one side of a residential street oh, by the way, I didn't tell my roommates until who were looking for the parking spot to begin with until after this thing was all done. But I said, okay, fine, I've got nobody parking on the street for a couple weeks. I can, but if no construction, if no construction starts and nothing goes on, people are going to get wise to this and think kids put them here and start parking here. I got to keep this going. So the following Monday, I put on my green DPW vest and went to the construction sites and started stealing barricades, because it's very important for pranks to have uniforms. Nobody questions a guy in a green DPW vest. When I was at school, I had a shirt, I still have the shirt, Columbia University Facilities Maintenance, blue work shirt, name tag Gerald. That got me into so many things. Nobody looks, nobody thinks. You see a uniform, right? You don't see the guy, you stereotype, you fill in a stock character from your head a lot of the time. That's why that's in crime novels so often. But instead of doing a serious crime, I just put on my vest and took a couple barricades. The construction sites were near the water pipes and sewer grates. So I notices and made sure to set these up. Some of the sawhorses and some of the A-frame ones with the lights on top. Right? I set up a whole fake construction site in just the same spot as the other ones and didn't tell anybody. And nobody, I think another time I went and moved the barricades a little bit, nobody parked on that block for 3 months. The DPW came out in a big truck, right? Some guys took a look at this, right? Because, like I said, I wanted so bad for them to actually start digging, for them to look at the clipboard and the site and then shrug their shoulders and do it. But at least I got a big truck to come out and look at it, and they were looking at it, kind of didn't seem to not get it. So they must have gotten on, I think they got on either the radio or the phone, right? And a little while ago, and a little while after, a supervisor in a little truck came by and, was definitely on the phone, was looking at his clipboard, all that kind of stuff. And then apparently, I saw that one, and apparently he came back and did the same thing. But nobody did anything about it. Right? They must have just shrugged their shoulders and not dug, chalked it up as a mistake. But the point is, I set up a whole fake construction site. Somebody I hadn't seen in a while came by, right? I was like, oh man, construction, I gotta park. And I said, oh no, don't worry about it. That's not a real construction site, that's mine. And he said, what is that supposed to mean? Oh man, but sometimes you don't have time to move barricades. Although they're really funny to have. You can use them as a coat rack or whatever. But this isn't so much a prank as a game, because it doesn't require any prep other than having to go on the bus somewhere. When I got bored a couple weeks ago waiting for the bus, and I think I had planned to do this. I think I had come up with it a couple days before. But, I'm standing at the bus stop, a little bored. There was one other guy there. I told the bus was a couple minutes late. And I looked, and I turned to him and I said, the bus is late because of the illegal aliens. And he kind of looked at me, and I said, oh no, not the illegal Mexican aliens, the illegal space aliens. And he was like, what? And I kept going. I was like, oh yeah, they come here from Formalhaut and Proxima Centauri and Jupiter and Neptune. The Jupiter ones are the worst. They never have passports. And so on, right? And I kept going, just like I do this. I acted like a street crazy, okay, raving about aliens and insisting that, they were spying and talking about how, we should all work together against the illegal outer space aliens, and how the 63-mile border between, Earth's atmosphere and outer space should be enforced as an actual border. And if they fly lower than that, right, then they're attempting to land and they're border jumpers, right? And the problem is, and I was saying this, I'm not going to do aliens for a whole hour. You can do your own aliens. But, I kept going on. I was looking at people, sometimes addressing it to them, sometimes just talking out in the air. Thought I would get a reaction out of somebody, but I hardly got anything. But when I was getting off the bus, I then said, I tried to do something. I stopped and I said to the driver, I said, and the worst part is, the Jupiter aliens are Soviet aliens. Oh, Jupiter's full of communists. Right. And then I've done that. I did it again. I did it today for a whole hour and barely got a reaction out of anybody. But hey, whatever. The point is that the illegal outer space aliens need to go. And the other problem with that is that how are we going to deport them? when they live 4 light years plus away, except for the Jupiter ones that are close. You know, their planet is like a country we share a border with, instead of one that's a whole continent away. But it doesn't matter. Even in sending them to Jupiter, how would we deport them? How many? Look at those rockets. They look like needles. How many? How would we be able to stuff as many as come here every day without going through checkpoints? You know, and so on and so forth. Deporting them by rocket would be, way too expensive, and so on, and more stuff. Today I decided to be real bigoted against Jupiter aliens. I was calling them Jupes, right? I was explaining all the bad stuff they do, and how the ones from the immigrants from like Formalhaut and Sirius are better behaved, and they go through and get their papers. But that's enough of that. You guys get the general idea. I call it alien shouting, and I try to get a reaction out of people. But what's interesting, right? I mean, I'm from New York. I've said so on the last episode, right? So those of you who didn't know that, I know that you weren't listening. Oh, I did want to say one thing about one more aliens thing. My best line, I think, was that I held up my phone, which is a high-end Android phone, and I said, and the thing is, they're watching me and they're watching you, but but nobody knows that I'm watching them. And I hold out my phone and I said, there's an app for that. I think I got a laugh out of one person for that one at least. But anyway, the point is the Jim Zamboni. Okay, when I was in high school, and again, if I already told this story and you're hearing it twice, that's good, because that means you were listening last week. So there was, I went to a pretty good high school, and I had 3 gyms, right? One was some kind of like, I don't know what the heck the floor was made out of, right? The other one, the biggest one, it was wood floor. And the third one, which was the second biggest but the newest, had this rubber floor. It was really cool. And the janitors, right, the facilities, or the physical plant, whatever they called them, right, at that school, would, they wouldn't mop or whatever. The way you clean that floor was with a machine that looked like a little Zamboni, right, with a water tank in the front, and instead of whatever they have on the bottom of Zambonis, they have the rotating brushes, right? It's probably called a floor buffer or something like that. But the point is that it's a Zamboni, about the size of a lawn tractor. So me and my friend Kevin McElhaney could always see the gym. Right, there was a wall that was a window in one of the student lounges that overlooked this gym. So we kept seeing the maintenance guy in the gym Zamboni, or on it. And we got obsessed. We wanted this thing so bad, right? That would be, this isn't as good. This is high school, so I didn't have good pranks like playing aliens or like building construction sites. So we wanted to steal this gym Zamboni. I'm talking about, we spent months on this, doing little planning sessions to get the thing in the spring. And all we were dreaming of was to take this thing, drive it out the door, and have a low-speed chase at like 2 miles an hour, driving the Zamboni around the loop road, buffing it, while, the security jeep follows us at like 2 miles an hour with the lights on or something. But I even figured out how to get into the closet where it's kept, but for whatever reason, I don't remember, we never did get that gym Zamboni. And that stinks. The school also had a hockey rink, okay, and so it had a real Zamboni. And they had a weird thing. It wasn't work-study, but there was a requirement, there was a part of the curriculum, really, that every semester, right, every student had to have some, just a few hours a week of some sort of work on the campus, whether it be filing, kitchen duty, whatever. Zamboni driver used to be one. Students, basically, untrained volunteers or something like that, would get to drive the Zamboni. A real one, not a gym one. Oh, you have no idea how much fun I'd have with that. And if I knew where Kevin was, the two of us would have even more fun with that. We'd be resurfacing ice, in parking lots, right? In stores, right? In a restaurant, maybe in a bar during happy hour, right? Just come in with the Zamboni and see what all the drunks do. But at any rate, you can probably guess where this one is going. One guy, and he wasn't even, in a improper state to be driving. One guy crashed the Zamboni, crashed the school Zamboni, just like through the boards, almost all the way to the wall of the hockey rink building. So that went away. That went away pretty quickly. And as much fun as Zambonis are, golf carts are pretty fun too. Go-karts, once you get old enough to drive a car, go-karts are awesome before that. But, golf carts are always fun. I went to I told the golf story about going to, a golf course with somebody who knew somebody, right? And so we had 4 people and 4 golf carts. Much funnier than the actual, and much more enjoyable than the actual game of golf, which I just plain old hate. And even playing it, you can at least smoke cigars outside and that, and that kind of stuff, hang out on nice days. Watching golf, it's like watching poker. Not even poker. I guess, can get pretty exciting now. It's like watching backgammon to me. But at any rate, all right, there are a few, interesting. There's a place, a little summer community, right, kind of far away from here where you are. There's this little area, a little park, if you will, 100 houses maybe, and you were allowed to drive golf carts within that, because it's all private property. All right, you're allowed to drive golf carts there, and so there's lots of people with normal golf carts, gas or electric, and there's one guy who has long hair that like blows behind him in the wind, and he wears sunglasses and no shirt while driving at high speed his bright green painted golf cart with flames painted down the sides and a wooden pickup truck bed built on the back. But hey, it's his golf cart. He can paint it whatever color he wants. And I think the pickup truck thing is funny. The one I really want to get my hands on is a John Deere Trailgater. Oops, I said a brand. At any rate, Trailgaters are great because they're 6x6s. So to me, right, that means that you can drive over stuff and through stuff that is 50% worse than what a 4x4 can handle. The maintenance crews at high school had a couple of those. All right, but we never got our hands on them, although it probably would have been easier than the floor buffer. Then in college, however, and you'd think that the people who run such a school would be a little more clever than this, but your mailbox keys will start and I'll tell you flat out, right, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you how to pull this prank, and if you're listening, right, and you happen to go to that university, right, then Columbia University's mailbox keys for the mailboxes in Lerner Hall will start the dining services golf carts. Some of them are, have a little metal pickup bed, some of them are regular, but they won't start facilities carts, but that's fine, because we'd steal the dining services ones, right, and kind of tool around in them at night, getting security to chase us, and then dipping with them. But, but the facilities golf carts we couldn't get into, right? Even though I had my uniform, I was never able to get a cart key with it. However, there was one parked near Carmen Hall, outside of that dorm, and there was like a half a set of the stairs that they have in places like that in front of the gate, and so we just took that golf cart and shoved it down the stairs at night. And now that I'm telling the story, I guess it's not that great of a story. It's just that we made a lot of noise and damaged a golf cart. And like I said, that's not a prank. The Zamboni would have been a prank, okay, but that's not a prank. You know, a place that's really good for pranks is MIT. They call them hacks, okay, and among others, there's the big dome, which has been disguised as all sorts of things, including not only a beanie cap, but also a giant breast. A police car, a campus police car, has been completely disassembled, brought up to the top of the dome, and put back together. I'm pretty sure they had to get that off. The university had to rent a chopper, a lift chopper, to get that car off of the roof. You know. And extra points, of course, for it being a cop car. But at any rate, yeah, golf carts are just fun to play with. You know, I kind of want to I forget what I was going to say about them before or where I was going with that, but have you ever seen the outhouse, the world's fastest outhouse that has rockets on it? It's a porta potty, okay, on a platform with wheels and a bunch of rockets. I forget how fast it goes, but it's certainly faster than any toilet I've ever traveled in. I mean, an airplane toilet doesn't count. This is a self-propelled crapper. I think I can say crapper. But at any rate, though, right, you can put jets and rockets on anything, and it's automatically 10 times better or more than it was before. You know, let's see, the super fast porta potty. I don't know, whatever. Let's pick something else. How about that? I used to play the piano, okay, and the pipe organ, and a little bit of the harpsichord, because the church that I used to play at had a harpsichord. The organ was awesome. 3,000 pipes or so, 3 manuals, and the pedals, and big panels of all kinds of stops. We had a stop 32-foot pipe, a couple of them, which is acoustically a 64-footer. There are only a couple true 64-footers in the world anymore, and I think only one works. But in terms of the actual sound, the harmonic, a stop 32 does it. And the point is that my teacher, who was the organist at the church, looked like Beethoven. He had he had a big shock of gray hair, kind of the same way. And when he would play any keyboard instrument, especially the organ, he would kind of like lean forward, and even when playing gently, and sort of bang on it with his fingers, and his hair would shake. And I'm not sure if I saw that in a movie or what, but at any rate, he looked like my imagination of how Beethoven played the piano or the instrument. So at any rate, I decided at one point that, I should learn how to play the toccata and fugue in D minor. We all know that as the Phantom of the Opera piece, but that's only the beginning. The middle, one of the middle parts that I like a lot is a part played by Captain Nemo in the original live-action 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Also in the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movie, the original, right? Dr. Jekyll plays that same piece on his organ. Of course, we've got the Phantom of the Opera, and there's at least one more, I think. So the point is that, ipso facto, all lonely, right, insane geniuses should know how to play, right, the toccata and fugue on the organ, and they should do it, frequently, especially when being lonely or insane. I actually have a recording of that, but if you weren't paying attention, right, then I got one over on you good, because remember, as I said in the beginning, not even 3 weeks ago, I was certified to be sane by your Milwaukee County mental health system. So, at any rate, speaking of your Milwaukee County transit system, I hate it. I hate the MTA, and I know you call it something else, but I call it the MTA because I'm from New York. All right, and the subway, I think I talked about the subway last time. However, probably many of you who are not cool enough weren't really listening too much last time. And so, the thing is, what was I talking about? I don't remember. Well, at any rate, let's see. I was going to show you a picture of my nephew, but not only are all you guys not seeing me necessarily as hearing me, but I would be then showing you a webcam shot of a phone screen that has a picture of a picture. So that would look terrible. But at any rate, though, I can at least tell you about the kid. He's so cute, and I call him Chubbs. And the reason I call him Chubbs, and everybody calls him Chubbs, is... What's it? Oh, I thought you were somebody else. I'm going to talk until somebody gets on the radio. So anyway, Chubbs... Wait, what? Oh, because you want to go and do stuff? Okay. No. Stay and listen in. I forgot to say to all my listeners, everyone is welcome to stop by. Okay? You know, if you want to come in and say something, all right, or just hang out, come on in. I got extra cameras. We got extra mics. Okay, I'm a River West Radio, and that's at the video store next to Fuel on Center Street. All right, and I'm right in the front window, so you can't say you pass by here and don't notice me. So even if you're not listening to this, all right, and you don't know what I'm telling you, you should still, trust me, come by and get on the show. Because I'll let you say anything, as long as I don't have to beep you, because if I can refrain from swearing, so can you. But remember, we still have our British, okay, bloody, bugger, wanker, and so on. So anyway, Chubbs, he wasn't a fat kid, but he had such chubby cheeks. His face was not round. It was a circle with like two more circles like this. You know, the size of a football, or the general shape of a football, but with big pouches. And I am not kidding you. When he was eating, sometimes we could not tell if he was between bites, had a normal bite in his mouth, or did something like stuffed half a hot dog into his mouth hole. And sometimes we would have to check by poking your finger into his mouth if he was actually jammed with food or not at all. All right, I mean, those are some serious cheeks. His were, very perky, but I've seen babies that definitely have jowls. Oh yes. In fact, I got a web page. I don't have a web page per se, but I have, an account where I wanted to put up, I wanted to make it www. Hey, what's up? You guys can stick around. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I have a spot on a hosting site or whatever called Jowl Babies. And I want to get that going, actually, jowlbabies.com. That's only pictures of babies with chubby cheeks. I never was into kids, but I kind of really like seeing babies that have chubby cheeks. I just think it's the greatest thing. And, I really wish that in the American culture, it was acceptable to go up to someone's baby, okay, with chubby cheeks, and just go, chub, 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 chub. All right, for those, who aren't getting the video stream, okay, that was me making a very gentle pinching motion, okay, of the way you do it with a chubby cheek. In fact, though, I've gotten several people to allow me to chub their baby's cheeks by pulling up, okay, the picture that I have of little Joe of Chubbs on my phone, right, and showing those cheeks, because I haven't ever seen a baby like that, even fat babies. Of course I'm going to think he's the best. He's my nephew, but he also happens to be the best, and the best cheeked. All right, so since I spent so much time with him when he was growing up the first few years, I would always, right, since he was small, chub his cheeks, lean over him, chub, 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 and he actually liked it. He didn't say, the baby equivalent of, you know, get lost and stop touching my cheeks, stop pinching my cheeks. No, he liked it, one, uh, and one day he looked at me and just reaches up to my cheek and goes, chub. It was great. So now it's a Joe and Uncle Tommy thing, right? Where he'll chub my cheeks and stuff too. But he's 6 now. He's almost 7. And so I said to him, last year I figured it was, he was getting, shortly after he was 6.5, figured, he might be getting a little old for cheek pinching, and that sort of thing. But although he still does have a nice set, even though, nothing like he used to. But when you grow up past about 3, you shouldn't have cheeks like that anyway. That doesn't look good. At any rate, though, so I said, well, Joe, you're growing up, right? You're getting taller and all that stuff, right? Soon you won't have any chubs in your cheeks for me to chub. And he looked at me and he said, but Uncle Tommy, you're older and taller, and you still have chubs in your cheeks. Yeah, it was great, except I weighed about 20 pounds more at the time, so I was just like, eh. But I didn't have a turkey gobbler, because that's good. Because if I had a gobbler, right, if I was fat enough to have a gobbler, and then lost that weight, then I'd have waddles. Droopers, right, on the sides are great, like Nixon. But waddles on the throat, like Mitch McConnell, are no good. Joe Lieberman, on the other hand, has droopers that have their own droopers, double jowls, probably because, he's an independent and has switched parties, right? The one set of jowls, the smaller set, is from what he's done as, an independent, right? And the larger set is what he did as a Democrat, right? So if he changed parties again, or extreme, or had a major shift, okay, of position, he'd probably, I would assume, have a third set of smaller recursive jowls on his second set. But the other great thing about little Joe is that I got him to say his first word, and it was not mama. Since he was born, I took care of him a lot in the first couple years of his life. And so when he was, I started from the very beginning, just going to Joe, come on, Joe, say poop, oh yeah, poop, poop, poop. And, I kept doing it, egging him on, and at 6 months, he looks up to me and goes, I was going, say poop, and he looks up to me and goes, poop. And I got so excited. Joe's first word, my nephew's first word, and it was poop, and I got it to be poop. And I yelled to his mom, hey, come here. All right, Joe's first word was poop. And I bent down and I was like, come on, Joe, say poop. And he looked at his mom and he said, poop. So it was witnessed and recorded that his first word was poop. And I got to say, that's pretty awesome. I don't want to talk about poop too much because there are certain situations in which it's a great topic, right? But there's no need. There's already a website, poopreport.com, about funny poop stuff. But I just want to mention, my rule of thumb with that, my quick position on poop, okay, which is this slogan: poop, laugh at the word, avoid the substance. And I'll stick with that. But at any rate, right, boogers are kind of funny. I don't care, how old I am, okay? That kind of stuff, body humor, poop, barf, pee, boogers, that's all funny, In fact, everybody knows that old men talk about that stuff and laugh about that stuff as much as little boys. I learned most of the best fart jokes from my grandfather, and, I was doing it a little while ago, and, I told some joke, and my mom said, geez, how old are you, 2? Right? And I said, Mom, I learned that one from your father, and he just turned 80. But, grandpas have to do that. Grandpas have to. That's what grandparents are for, to do that kind of fun stuff. Uncles, too. I plan on getting him his first jackknife, okay, his first model rockets, okay, all those sorts of things, that Daddy might not necessarily buy him, although Daddy has recently bought him a snake, a companion snake, 2 scorpions. Those things are fine, but he is now breeding rats. And as I said, about New York and the subway last time I was on, I do not do rats. I don't like them. They're dirty. They're actually filthy. I don't care if they're lab rats, they're still rats. And he is actually breeding the damn things in the house. They may not be subway rats, but I can't even say they're the good kind, because there is no good kind. The only good thing about the rats is that the snake eats them. But at any rate, so I'm going to get little Joe all the stuff he's not supposed to have. Fireworks, whatever. Not over the top, not egregious, but, the stuff that one's first of it should come from an uncle. Now, this bit I'm going to say, let me say this about that I don't believe in using children, okay, as manipulating tools or as time bombs or any of that, all right? But I do kind of secretly want to give Joe a gift the next time he's with our family and, send him back to where his mom lives with it. And the gift will consist of whistles and permanent markers. And, he'll get his fireworks, knives, hatchets. Ooh, a hatchet is good. Yeah. You can chop up you can make a lot of destruction with that. But little boys will make destruction with anything. That's the thing. We were playing a game in the upstairs playroom on the 3rd floor. Let's see, it was probably like I was 11, so that might have made him 8 or 9. Something like that, maybe a little older. And we were playing a game, okay, and I'm not going to tell you the rules of the game because it spoils the punchline of the story. But we were throwing something at targets, and it missed the target and broke the window. So my dad, I guess, went to the glazier and said, I need a window to fit this. My son's broke it. And they said, he said, oh, how'd they do it? Baseball? He said, nope. Football? Nope. Golf ball? Nope. How'd they do it? Dad goes, toilet plunger. We were throwing it at stuff, whipping it around, and it absolutely bounced off something and broke right through the window. But it was not a nasty, dirty toilet plunger, though. It hadn't been used in probably forever. At any rate, though, busting windows, like I said, with bricks or whatever, or even throwing a toilet plunger through it on purpose isn't, a good idea. Vandalism isn't any good. But, I'll preach that because I can't tell you most of the stories of the vandalism I've done, right? So you guys are going to have, all you'll know is that I never did any of that stuff, except for the stuff I tell you about when I was a soccer hooligan in England, because that was just so much fun. That kind of vandalism is fun. But anyway, breaking windows and sometimes in funny situations, right, it can be funny. In my fraternity house, again, when I was at college, I lived in a suite in the basement. And it wasn't like a nasty basement room. The basement suite had not only the 2 bedrooms and bathroom, the upstairs ones had a little, not even a hallway, maybe an alcove, you'd call it, or a vestibule. I don't even know. But we had a living room in the basement suite, as well as our rooms. So, at any rate, my bedroom was right under the windows in the common room, which was basically the party room. And so one day, somebody a friend of mine, tossed a 40-ounce malt liquor bottle through this window. Okay, and it's like whatever, right? So the next morning, since I'm laying right below this stuff, I hear the maintenance guy, right, one of the facilities guys, fixing the window, and they fixed it. And that night, the night after they fixed it, the same guy tossed the same kind of bottle through the window. So the next day, I'm down there, and I hear a maintenance guy up there, and Kenny Martino, the superintendent. Right? He can't figure out what's going on. He says, "Hey, there's a work order on this. I saw the work order. Why didn't you guys fix this window?" Like I said, "We did fix the window. We did it yesterday." And Ken says, "Well, why is it broken then?" I don't know if they figured out that one. They probably, although actually, no, my fraternity was on double secret probation before I was there for flooding a classroom building. But at any rate, I wasn't there for that one, so I probably can't tell the story very well. But, rest assured that if I had been at that school that year, I would have been involved in that prank. I don't even know if I'd call flooding a building a prank. It's extra points because it was a classroom building, or rather than a dorm. But we did much better, much funner stuff than that, more fun stuff than that. A couple times we did this. We built a beach in the frat house to have a beach party, and I'm talking about we put down tarps and don't forget, this is New York City. This is not doing this right in some fraternity house with a huge lawn and lots of space and whatever. Right? No, this is on a brownstone on 114th Street. So at any rate, okay, we bought like a few pallets of sand. We bought like a couple loads on an excursion, definitely a couple tons of sand, and then we stole about 2 or 3 more tons from a public beach, right, and brought it in bags. Emptied the sand we bought and filled up the bags with sand we stole. So we set up a beach with sand that never showed the tarps underneath or the floor. We said, hold on a second. Hey, are you on?
No.
Oh.
Take one. No, take the bunch.
Oh,
Take the bunch.
thank you. That's awesome. We needed some new ones in my house. It's perfect. At any rate, so where was I? Hey, you remember what I was talking about? Oh, double secret probation and the indoor beaches. So we set up these indoor beaches in the house, and had our party like 6 inches deep of sand plus, and then never had to worry about the cleanup because all we did was push the sand out of the way, put 4 guys on a tarp, fold it up, put it in a garbage can. Right? Now, keep in mind that we put something, and then just rent an industrial shop vac and clean up all the other garbage. Now, keep in mind that this is 5 tons of sand that we're throwing out. So these garbage drums, probably weighed a couple 100 pounds each. Right? And we just snuck it into the regular garbage. And they took it. But the next time we did that stuff, New York City doesn't screw around when it comes to fire regulations, building codes, right, garbage, any of that stuff. So the second time, we got a summons, $1,000 summons for illegal disposal of, improper disposal of construction waste. So we had to bag it all back up into these 50-pound bags and just run it, and in the middle of the night, bring it to a dumpster. We dropped it in a construction dumpster down the street, right? So, that was cool because we got out of trouble. Because illegal disposal of construction waste, that's kind of a neutral one. That's kind of a, one that isn't as funny as contempt of Congress or squirrel worrying, but it's certainly, not particularly bad. it doesn't make you look funny on your rowdy sheet, but it doesn't make you look like a real idiot. Just somebody tried to put one over, on the garbage people like they always do, right, and got caught. Me personally, right? Not only do I not separate my recyclables, I don't just put my garbage in the recycle bin and my recyclables in the garbage. No, anybody can do that. I take it further and put in some effort and take recyclables out of the bin, put them in the garbage can, take out trash that other people have probably disposed of, and put it in the recycle bin. Right. But that's because I like to push buttons. It's not like I hate the earth, right? But, I often say, right, that for instance on Earth Day, okay, I wish I was driving around, a big old diesel truck, okay, with big smokestacks, burning the old kind of diesel with high sulfur instead of ultra low, and, just for extra fun, towing a trailer of burning coal that I lit with crude oil. And I say that just to get a reaction, but you know what? I'd absolutely actually do that. Why not? Fire's fun. It really is. Don't think that I'm some crazy pyromaniac, because remember, for the third time this show, right, I am certified to be sane. But, I'm a guy, and I was a Boy Scout and all that good stuff, So one time, unfortunately, I wasn't a kid. I was already in my mid-20s. And my mom had her office Christmas party for school. She's a teacher at our house, at the family's house. And so, she wanted me to get a fire going. And luckily, right, even though it was Mom's colleagues, there were no, young, cute teachers that I was trying to flirt with, because I couldn't get this fire going in the fireplace. And I went upstairs and thought, okay, that this was a really good idea. And so I mixed together in a Coke can, right, in a Diet Coke can, isopropyl alcohol, 91%, okay, acetone, okay, and just for a little extra fun, nitromethane, which, if you don't know what that is, right, is fuel for dragsters and model airplanes and that kind of stuff. And I mix this stuff together, more than half a can, probably 8 ounces of it, and I go down to the living room and just quietly go over to the fire and pour it on there, and it goes huge fireball, right? The can is sitting on the bricks in front of the fireplace, right? Luckily behind the screen, just belching out fire, right? I yelled, "Dad, I screwed up!" And he came down and looked at it, and all this extra fire that didn't even light the wood, by the way. I was like, "What was that?" And I told him it was nitromethane, right? And he gave me a look that I knew meant that was stupid, right? And he took the thing outside with the fire tongs, and so yeah. But at any rate, nothing blew up, so that was all right. I've blown myself up a couple times. Fireballs burned my eyebrows off, burned all the skin on the tip of my nose off, and told my mom that I got a really terrible sunburn, and she bought it. But, I told her what happened after the statute of limitations expired on that one. I gave it a good 12 years before I told her, and some of the other ones. But, I guess the good side is that I was in middle school at the time, and I blew off the skin on my nose, so I never got another zit there again. And luckily I don't have a scar. I had a French press, a coffee press, blow up in my face. I don't know if I pushed the plunger too hard or what, but it exploded. Right, shot boiling water, of course, not just hot coffee because it's boiling for the press, all over me, shards of glass, all of that stuff. But you know what? I patched it up and I'm okay with no burn scars. So, even though I described it as a French press, okay, because everybody knows what that is, and if you don't and you look up a French press, okay, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I got to admit, maybe not so much anymore, but in the early 2000s, in the first half of the 21st century, or in the first half of the zero decade, I had a real bug up my derriere about the French. I did. I, you know, I would always love to go off about the French. Not even that I hated them so much, just that I could rile people up, you know. And other people were agreeing with it, so I could get people riled up. So I said, when Freedom Fries came out, okay, I always called them Freedom Fries, okay, and even now that we don't have that go on, right, a French kiss, I don't say that, I say a tongue kiss, okay, French toast, I call American egg toast, okay, French bread and baguettes, I refer to as American long bread of democracy. Let's see, what else? Crepes are pancakes of freedom. Wait, no, we've already got freedom. Crepes are pancakes of liberty. And let me see, what else is French? French silk pie or ice cream? No. How about, let's see, chocolates? I can't remember what it is. Flavors of ice cream are great. My first job, I was still in high school, right? I was 15, and at this little summer community where my family has a place, okay, there's this little spot called the Guzzle, and they sell ice cream. They have an actual old school soda fountain, and they have, a grill, burgers, fries, that kind of stuff. And so I was an actual old style soda jerker, which is pretty darn cool. And we served Edie's ice cream, and could eat ice cream and make ourselves milkshakes, all we wanted. And so some of the flavors that were weirder, I really liked, especially things like Moose Tracks, Muddy Sneakers, anything with a name like that, because that means it's got chocolate and caramel and chunks of stuff and swirls of stuff, right? And all of that. Well, some of the Ben and Jerry's flavors are kind of stupid, and that stuff is real expensive. But then again, right, some of them are really good. At any rate, though, there was blue bubblegum ice cream, okay? And we made a lot of milkshakes, and I made a lot of good milkshakes, but, that particular one could make a milkshake out of almost anything else, but that particular one was banned. No bubblegum milkshakes, because the bubblegum pieces, the gumballs, actually can damage the milkshake machine. Well, you know what? I didn't give a poop, right? So I made, even though I wasn't allowed to serve them, I made myself bubblegum milkshakes all the time, and you know what? They were good. If you go to a milkshake shop where they serve bubblegum ice cream, I recommend, whether it's Edie's or not, that you get a bubblegum milkshake. When I crave, I don't eat too much bad stuff, but when I crave snacks, I want to go all the way. Culver's, all right, around here, or if I'm not allowed to say the brand, a certain custard and burger joint that there are a lot of around here, the blue one, blue and white one. They have their Sunday of their ice cream of the day, right? Their flavor of the day. And one day it was turtle. Unfortunately, I was expecting actual turtle, like sea turtle, and it turned out to be just pecans and chocolate and that sort of thing. But my dad asked me, I was running out to get Culver's for the family, and my dad asked me, can you get me a turtle sundae with the flavor of the day? So I did exactly what was ordered, and I got him a turtle sundae with turtle ice cream. And that was so excessive that he was only able to eat a little bit of it, right? Even though it seemed like a very good idea. And I ate the rest of it, and let me tell you, it is good. Turtle sundae made with turtle ice cream. I recommend it. Now in Japan, and even at Japanese restaurants, they have not just green tea, but you can get wasabi ice cream, okay, red bean, ice cream. And you know what? These are really good. You know, you wouldn't think bean ice cream would be good, but it is. And it doesn't even make you fart. Now, I know I can say fart as many times as I want on the radio, which is good because farts are funny, right? And also a funny word. Aside from poop, where the word is, as opposed to poop, where the word is funny, but the substance, you know, is not and is to be, you know, avoided, right? Not only are farts funny to talk about, but they're funny in real life too. You know, even in an elevator, if somebody farts and you smell, yeah, you know, and you smell it and it's disgusting, or if somebody farts loudly and nobody wants to say anything, right? It's still a little bit funny. You'll probably still hear a little, you know, you'll want to tell somebody a little bit about it, you know, when you get home maybe. Yeah, but, you know, sometimes, yeah, I once got well, not once got a whoopee cushion. This has actually happened to me twice, where the whoopee cushion breaks within an hour of using it. But I went to Jack's Joke Shop in Boston, okay, with my friend Jack, who is not Jack of Jack's Joke Shop. He just happens to live in Boston and be named Jack. So, right, we go there, and I buy, oh, here we go with pranks again, coming back to pranks. And I buy a couple things, including a whoopee cushion, okay, and cigarette loads. Now, if you don't know what those are or remember them, okay, cigarette loads are little pieces of wood, maybe like a eighth of an inch slice of a matchstick that's impregnated with some sort of explosive, okay, so that you stuff it in a cigarette or cigar, right? Although if somebody ruined a $6 to $12 cigar with one of these, I'd slap them. I'd slap them up. I'd slap them around. But anyway, nobody did. So back to the cigarette loads and the whoopee cushion, right? You put you put a load in a cigarette, and you light it, right? And when the flame when the ember burns down to there, when they take the puff that contacts the load, right? It goes pop, blows up the cigarette, right? Not terribly dangerous, you know, kind of an old school prank, because I'm sure now you can't bring them on the plane. I'm sure now they sell them in fewer places, all that kind of stuff. But the point is that I took my whoopee cushion down into the Boston subway, which is called the T, and I was wearing a long coat at the time. So I would surreptitiously blow up the whoopee cushion, right? And instead of under my butt or somebody else's butt, I would stick it under my arm, all right? And I'd put the blown up one under my arm, and then when nobody was saying, when the platform was quiet, or when nobody, or when the platform was quiet, or when, you know, I was standing next to somebody who looked serious, like they wouldn't, you know, just laugh, you know, I had the whoopee cushion here and would go, just squeeze it with my elbow, right? And I was doing this for 20 minutes. People were, you know, at 3 or 4 stations. People were looking, right? A couple snickered, and so on and so forth. And then the whoopee cushion broke. I didn't even get it home. It still broke while I was on the subway. But I got some good farts out of it. Now, the cigarette loads, right? I tried one myself, and I thought they were so great that, you know, I knew what I was going to do, right? I forget if I flipped a cigarette in my pack, or, oh, by the way, if kids are listening, don't start smoking. Cigarettes are bad, and if you start them now, you will want them every day for the rest of your life. That downer little bit being said, though, you know, let me get back to that I had my cigarettes and either flipped one that was loaded or just was trying to remember that in one corner of the pack was a loaded one. Because my plan was that if somebody, decided to try to bum, right, or acquire a cigarette from me, then I would hand him the loaded one, right? And either walk away knowing that his was going to blow, or hoping, standing a little way away, hoping that it would happen. Well, apparently nobody asked me for a cigarette that night. I don't remember the entire night, but apparently nobody asked me for a cigarette, because the next morning I woke up, I was somewhat groggy, and went downstairs to have a cigarette and lit it. And in about a second, boom! Or more like, pop! I scared the bejabbers out of myself. It was pretty good. Then I got him home. After I came back from that trip, I brought them, and I shared a few of them. I gave some to a friend of mine, right? We were hanging out. Okay, I showed him how they work. I gave him some. That same day, probably less than an hour later, okay, I had smoked all mine, and I bummed one off of him, and I lit it, and a second later it exploded. So far, I don't have any left. I believe the only person that actually got startled and pranked by my cigarette loads was me, twice. But that's okay, because I can still talk about it. It's a funny prank. It's still one I played. Well, except where the other guy got me with it. But whatever. At least it wasn't a cigar. I like to smoke cigars, don't get me wrong, but they're pretty expensive. Ow, man, I hurt my knee yesterday. Oh, it hurts. But at least it's getting better rather than worse. My knees are no good because I used to wrestle, as well as weightlifting, boxing, martial arts, all that good stuff that I don't do anymore. I forget where I was going with that one either. I'm starting to get a little tired, but you know what? I've now been talking for almost 2 hours. I don't even know who was supposed to have the show after mine. But really, it doesn't bother me, because then I get to talk longer. I can do this for hours. The Aliens game I just told you about, I played that on the bus for an hour before I even got here. So I've been doing this. I've been chattering since 4 o'clock. And, so if you're listening and you are a host on River West Radio and don't want to show up or can't make your show or, need somebody or, whatever, then feel free to give me a call and I will gladly come on here and, and share what issues forth from the jowls of justice. Oh, yeah, that's right. All right. I'm talking gobblers, waddles, plain old droopy jowls, right? Hefty bags like Roger Ailes. See, I already said Mitch McConnell for waddles. Lieberman, we're good for droopers. Women, jowls express power. They show power on a man. Even dignity, gravitas. Okay? And they carry authority. If somebody with jowls, this is what I said in the beginning about my lack of external, physical jowls, but the magnitude, right, and the strength of the internal, of the jowls on my internal self, as well as his gobbler, right? And despite that, on men, right, when they get a little older, just like gray hair on some, jowls, signify good things, right? On women, jowls don't look that great. Kim Cattrall, for instance, but, she's a movie star and a television star. In the realm of politics, right, female jowls are probably one of the most important contributing factors to the growing position of women in politics over the last 30, 40 years or thereabouts. For instance, the original Margaret Thatcher, she had serious jowls. Everybody, it wasn't that she was unexpectedly, hard or powerful or determined. It was what got her in was her jowls, I believe. Hillary Clinton, when she was First Lady, it's not just because she's getting older, right? When she was First Lady, she wasn't even starting to jowl. Then when she became a senator, they started to develop, her face started to sag. Then when she was running for president, okay, her jowls got significantly, noticeably lower and looser. And now, right? She droops with, the heavies, with Orrin Hatch, maybe even Ted Kennedy, God rest his jowls. But, Olympia Snow, okay, Olympia Snow from, which is an awesome name, I think, for a senator from Washington, is, she's a jowler, a jowlette. Let's see. Who's the other one? Margaret Thatcher, Hillary Clinton. Oh, yeah, when she became Secretary of State. I mean, after the presidential race, she's got them. Just look at her. Look at her over the years. She's got them almost down to her shoulders by now, right? In fact, I know a guy, a businessman, who was, vice president. He's an executive. He was vice president of a pretty big company. And even though he was approaching 60, okay, an executive, a little overweight, he didn't have jowls. He had a bit of a double chin, but he didn't have a turkey gobbler either. He got promoted to president. Right? He was already vice president. 2 years probably after his promotion to president, he was starting to get pretty authoritative jowls, pretty respectable jowls, right? And the double chin began to grow into a gobbler. And I think that the reason for this, okay, is the same as cheek flanges in orangutans. If you ever noticed, okay, female orangutans look pretty much like any normal ape, okay, and young or non-dominant male orangutans, right? And then the dominant male orangutans have these big cheek pads, have those big flapping, pads the flanges are called, to signify, right, dominance and power. Now, if a flanged male dies, right, or if an unflanged male moves to an area where there's no other dominant flanged male, the unflanged male will grow his own cheek pads as soon as he becomes dominant. So I believe that it's the same thing in the corporate world, that, when you're an assistant judge, right, you have the potential for them, but then when you become a chief judge or chief justice of something, then, that's when the jowls really start to grow. Look at Chief Judge Belvin Perry. Now that is a name, right? Chief Judge Belvin H. Perry Jr. That guy is respectable. You hear that name, he's got jowls. The only reason he doesn't have, real good saggers is because his gobbler is so big, right, that it would swallow any jowls he has. He was the judge, right? Belvin Perry was the judge in the Casey Anthony trial. And, he got some pictures taken when he was chewing a guy out for giving the finger to the DA. He got a picture taken like this. If you're not watching on the video stream and only listening, I just made a face that looks like a pufferfish. In fact, if you Google him, then that will be one of the top picture results, right? And other ones where he looks like he's about to bullfrog croak. I only remember one really good quote where one of the lawyers said, "If it pleases the court," and he said, "It does not," but probably in a jollier voice. At any rate, though, so compare the jowls and gobblers of chief and associate judges. Okay, notice how senators have larger, more prominent jowls than representatives. And notice how, in the same way as with orangutans, right, a corporate vice president will in some cases not grow jowls. If he's not naturally prone to jowliness, he won't grow them until he reaches president, right? If he's named president at 40 of the company, he'll probably have saggers by the time he's 35, right? If he's already in the executive suites before, and can reach this guy can reach, such a guy could probably reach 70 without having jowls. Well, a lot of people are retired by then, but let's say 65 without having jowls or a gobbler. But then if he gets promoted to president, right, becoming the dominant male, in the same way as orangutans growing their cheek flanges, his face will start to sag and his gobbler will start to bulge, almost as if, let's see, what would you call it? I don't know, but like they were holding back, right, until the guy was in a situation that biologically, triggered by being given that much power, the development of jowls and gobblers. And I'll be perfectly honest, right, I'm not a skinny guy, right, and I frown a lot. Not a fat guy, right, but I have it in my family. So I have a potential. If I'm serious enough, and eventually, like I said, I went to a good school, so if I eventually get a very important job, I could definitely, grow some really good jowls. And I hope I do. And I hope I get, and if I'm going to be overweight, I hope I get a really nice, well-shaped gobbler. Right, what I do not want is the waddles. Waddles are no good. Waddles here, no. You might as well, if you've got those, you might as well gain some weight and get a gobbler. Seriously. And then, let's see, who else has prominent jowls? Chief this, or head that, make you look more important, give you a gravitas, like suspenders. Suspenders worn on a young man, I think have more flair, have more flair, as well as, have more panache, as well as the appeal of being a classic, right, old school thing. Almost, to some extent, a tiny bit dressier than the same shirt, tie, and pants or suit with a belt, even a very good belt. I prefer to call my suspenders braces because, hold on a second, what? Yeah, I know, nobody's come out here to take the air yet. I'm probably going to leave shortly. Wait, hey, do you want me to just keep going? I've been on for an hour and 50 minutes. I haven't stopped talking, so I will keep going. You know what? Okay, listeners, I'm going to take a cigarette break. This is awesome. This makes up for last week because now I've had almost 2 shows. And if you were tuning in to listen to Ashley's show, Casual Sax, which I assume must be some sort of jazz thing, then you have just stumbled upon and discovered the wisdom issuing forth from the jowls of justice. So, yeah, I'm going to take a cigarette break. I could be smoking right here. I would love to be smoking right here, except for, and note that I do not say Doyle. I do not say Jim Doyle. I say Michael Bloomberg, because Michael Bloomberg in New York is the first, mayor or governor outside of California to impose a public smoking ban in places of business. And when that guy who bought that election, by the way, right, and stank compared to how awesome Giuliani was, Bloomberg banned smoking because he's a righteous ex-smoker who wants everybody else to quit, right, and so he wants to make it harder to smoke, right? Well, you know what that does? That sets a bad example. That sets a bad example, because then other cities and other states, start banning cigarettes inside. And where do we end up? Now here, paying $8 a pack for cigarettes that I can't smoke in a restaurant or anywhere, or even a bar. So at any rate, I really hope they repeal that, even though they won't. And otherwise, when we get a different, when we have a different station room, then I'm going to do it anyway. Right, I might kill the video feed. I might just decide to be pure radio and point the camera at something else. But in any case, yeah, I'm going to be smoking indoors. You hear that, Milwaukee County? Hear that, Wisconsin? What you going to do about that? Hey, I'll be back in about 5 minutes from an outdoor smoke. Don't stop listening, because I will just keep talking until somebody takes the mic. No, I'm getting a cigarette break.
Send this to your phone? I send it to your phone.
Michael Jackson.
You ready? You are. Long time no see. Bye, sir.
Bye guys, have a great night.
Thank you for getting it off. The net.
Bring the film.
You would never get away with that. Dude. And I didn't just try to do it.
Together, you go like this, but then go like this, but push as hard as you can. Doesn't it feel like it? It feels weird though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Too bad, so sad. No thank you, please. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a lot of walking.
Camera's not on, dude. I'm just trying to
yesterday who runs a bar downtown that had its 17th anniversary. And he told me about the party today, which I wouldn't have gone to. And there I am. It's all these people I haven't seen in a while. I gotta go home and correct papers. Yeah, good stuff.
Just do the photo booth. You can take photos. Wait, let me see. I want to do the Dead Man's Cone.
Any large city in America are very heavy and very numerous. They can be divided into three different categories. The first category, the mayor is the chief administrative officer of the city.
You look like a hobo with a big eye.
The third category must be a civic leader, sometimes even a political leader, in order to get across the proper kind of a program for the development and progress of the city.
Frank Ziegler was a socialist who positioned his hand the party itself was no longer New Deal evidence of capitalist basic support. But Ziegler's socialist beliefs were his guiding star. We participate in local government. In order that by our participation there may emerge noble beings with the largest concepts of liberty, truth, justice, cooperation, peace, and righteousness. Those ideals breathe new life into Milwaukee's tradition of municipal government.
Okay.
One expression of that tradition was an impressive annexation in convinced that Milwaukee had to grow or die in the post-war era. Ziegler's team doubled the city's land area in 12 short years. Annexation was always voluntary, but city water and city services were hard to resist. Such growth was backed by as her sister stagnates, Milwaukee restored
Yeah, same one they just rediscovered. It's quick,
made room for
It looks like it. No, it's local. It's Frank Cupertino.
You saw it then.
Yeah, it's great. It's highly entertaining.
Milwaukee's new territory was farmland.
Highly entertaining.
Some
It's got a lot of walking sites.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some just like that kind of Tarantino-esque.
Right. Kind of like the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I thought it was really entertaining.
The next 8 appeared in the single verse.
I watched a whole lot of them.
Milwaukee continued to take it further.
Yeah, it is.
By blocking the battle lines were frozen in 1957. The city of Greenfield became Milwaukee's last neighbor to enforce.
The result was a hopelessly tangled borderline. To this day, there are curbs and sidewalks here on the Milwaukee side, but not in Greenfield. Some families actually eat in one community and sleep in the other. But the incorporation of Greenfield has brought us next. It completed what Frank Ziegler called the iron ring of suburbs encircling the city. The Milwaukee Journal described the last link.
Oh, yeah. I hope you enjoyed it. She wasn't
Tragic in the sense that it was frustrating.
And if you don't,
Just wrap this around. She's been like,
Milwaukee County is now incorporated in a jumble of 10 cities and 9 villages, being one community.
With the political fragmentation of Milwaukee County, the suburban waves once a national center of dairy farms, Waukesha became better known for housing than
That is a fact.
rural way of life faded in sunset into the city. Milwaukee's lifeblood
Farm.
ran away to the edges after World War II. The Depression stopped
I want it.
new activity on these mountains. A couple
Wait, no, you press on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm watching this tomorrow. I'm gonna tell you to watch it today.
Yeah, I know it gets. Well, it's cool because each thing is a little segment kind of thing, so then it's kind of like watch like one part and then like finish off with
The
the
Facebook credits.
and then the rest of it.
So,
Yes.
Thanks.
You too.
Mom, this is
You can do that on just the browser when you can pop up and drag and drop stuff on it. Yeah. And you can drag and drop digital and
What was it doing? Oh yeah, no, that was cool.
Boom. Yeah, but no, it's really bad for the compost.
Okay, yeah.
Some people clap.
well, just so you know, you can use that method. That
I'll type.
Okay.
What will type in? Don't know where the K is.
would go up and use it for like certain don't use the computer.
That's what else.
So that note is actually this whole. But you
Yeah,
don't want to
it's
do
in
anything with the computer that's gonna make it. So if it's
Sorry about that.
you might hear
See, let's not have it on the laps.
Yeah, yeah.
exactly where it was when you okay.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, no, you can stop by and get that. That's totally fine. Anytime.
Get left at.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what else?
Throw.
All right, thanks so much. Yep, bye-bye.
That's something we talked about before.
Break his leg. Okay, what was the first one?
What about Jack?
I'm better. I don't feel up, lean up.
Something that a married woman might have a young hiding but
And a mouse and a real keyboard that my fat fingers
a
and so we could have one computer up there that's
Pictures?
a way to manage video or music and audio and playlist and that kind of thing, and scheduling for example, one of the things we can do is if you go over your
toilet.
And that would be nice to show us just the buffer to show.
yeah no
That's
that's
kind
part
of
of
set
it.
it up.
No.
Yeah no
Put pictures.
that's part of what this system can do. It's broadcast software that we can do that. And there would be another
Yeah, I think you're good.
I'm gonna put this here for my show, but you can play around with it if you want.
Oh, your picture shows me.
26 average score 67.
How do you type them in?
Like what?
those pastries. Hey, get up, Elsie. Right over there.
Hit me.
Unplug
I
it.
plugged it in, so doesn't she get to unplug it?
Unplug it and hand it to me, and I'll wrap it up.
No, her. I plugged it in. Why does she have to?
Because you have my coat on, and
What does that have to do with it?
you're gonna use my inline skates. Be more gentle with that thing. I don't have a warranty that lasts very much longer on my Apple.
Wait, so you oh yeah, I think the skates are still in there.
You're kidding. Run in and get them then. Be quiet. It's old.
They're having the Dead Man's Carnival on the 30th.
You're going to a carnival on the 30th?
No, they're having the Dead Man's Carnival.
Oh.
Have you ever been to that one?
Well, I'm gonna be picking you up almost every day when your dad's in Ecuador.
Awesome. From school?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Because Katie's gonna be working late.
She's gonna be working late because she's gonna be working late because Dave's not there and
Yeah. What's he going to Ecuador for?
it's a class trip.
Oh, a class trip?
Yeah, for his class.
Oh, the class that he's teaching?
I think, or the class he's
He's teaching and he's in a class.
yeah. So he gets
It
more.
must be the class that he's teaching because he's not studying medical terminology, he's studying medical assisting. Okay. I feel sort of unfortunate that I brought my coat in case I got cold. No, because it is getting chilly. I don't want you to be cold. Take it off when you get hot.
my first time being back here. I'm hearing sounds and noise.
Oh, back
and
there.
and
Well, Fuel Cafe.
oh, Fuel Cafe. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we're taking that corner drink.
No, we rent out that back space to serial killers.
Okay.
Um, okay. Are there any other pressing things that we bring talk about? Oh yeah, I was going to talk about doing a radio show workshop where people, whoever wants to could come in, and we could all just kind of sit down and do kind of like constructive criticism of our shows. Talk about like how to improve the show, what other people think of it. I'm not sure when. Oh, like on Wednesdays.
Criticism and perhaps just maybe take some beer.
Hello.
Friday's kind of getting like Friday's people going around a while.
Friday's also more of a busy day because there's more active also grant applications. A little bit less.
Hey,
Hey,
I got this.
how's it going? What's that?
This is a replacement for what Fred was lending us, because
Oh,
they're gonna get something similar to what Fred had.
okay.
So next week's show, definitely let's do the guitar solo thing. Let's call it
Okay.
Guitar Hero Night, and just like really just get the best solos we can from all of our favorite bands and discuss them. It'll give us a little extra time to do that. I'm having difficulty opening this. Maybe she's got some scissors. Do you have any scissors back there? I hope this works because,
Can I see it?
well, it's a headset hub.
Oh, so they'd all be at the same level,
Everything would be, yeah, all the
they-
same.
but they'd all be coming through there.
And Jacob should be bringing the fourth mic. I just texted him, I left it. I got the mic, but I left the cable on the the stand at home. He's just finishing eating.
Okay.
So, ostensibly, I'm probably gonna need a thingy for it, but I've got thingies. My thingy bag.
These are all 1/8 inch.
Yeah. Thingy.
Oh, that's what you were talking about. Okay.
Oh, they're all 1/8 inch. I have a couple
one
of these.
adapter.
I have one adapter.
Mine goes 1/8 inch.
I have two adapters.
I think I have one, and then mine.
Okay,
goes
we're
1/8
good.
inch.
We're good. Well, we're gonna make this work.
I don't have it because it's in my backpack, and I didn't
But
bring my backpack.
yours is 1/8 inch, 16th inch, anyways, and I have two adapters.
Okay, so we have 3. What about to make? Okay, you've got that one.
Right. So
I think Spencer might have a couple of adapters on him, because he did last time, or the time before, or something.
Hey guys, you kind of came to this meeting late. You guys have been involved for a while? Yeah. Okay, we were just curious. We just kind of non sequitur. We kind of just knew the other day when we were doing it. We were just being wondering to be involved in terms of, I guess,
Okay,
getting
so,
a show or getting involved in
phones.
that way. Because I mean, I've been, I guess,
And
involved
then
in capacity, but I mean,
this,
I'm
I
curious.
believe, here for now. We got that.
Are you
So
kind of,
here's
yeah.
one.
What's great about this community and the radio is very small and open forum and everybody.
Since I can't use my extension if I have it.
I have an extension also. There might be a way we could do that too. Let's
Yeah.
just see.
Right.
I'll be sending out an email
Right.
to
Okay, where's yours?
Well, I have a 1/4-inch extender.
That's okay, because I can.
When's available?
That's okay, because I can do this with that 1/4-inch extender.
But what I guess what I'm saying is, then there'd be one less person with an adapter.
Well, you were saying that you thought that Spencer had one.
Maybe.
Because then we have 1, 2, 3, then we're okay. Unless you want to sit closer so you don't need the extension. Why don't you just sit right next to
I
me?
could do that.
This will be much easier in a couple of weeks.
We know. That's why I got this for now.
One thing I wanted to tell you about is this guy. I just installed this on Sunday.
Okay.
It's to get the phone on the air. If you're interested in doing that at all.
Oh, not this week, but next week. Yeah, next week. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to like explain it, or you want
Well,
to wait till next week? 'Cause I'll be
wait
here
till next week because I'm
Okay.
really cutting it close here now all of
Yeah.
a sudden. But yeah, I'm gonna leave this thing, this hubby thing, with all of its adapters, so you can use either 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, a 16th.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And then once you get the other piece of equipment, I don't
Yeah.
care about this. This is $8, but. So at this point, if you can sit right next to me and not use your extender, then we'll have enough. So if you sat right here, you'd be fine.
This Friday?
Okay.
Do you need more chairs?
Okay, cool.
Nope,
Yeah.
we only have 4.
Cool, man. Alright, chill.
We need, that means we need one more.
Oh, I thought that was, yes, the invisible chair the imaginary chair that I've been imagining.
30 seconds?
Sure.
I'd love to have a sound made if you're interested in helping me out with that.
I certainly would. Just give me your email address.
Yeah.
Just write it down for
I'm
me.
gonna send out an email regarding the informational sheets
Right.
and the image for your shows and stuff.
Right.
But just gonna throw it out there quick. Essentially, you were listening to like South American soccer games. In the beginnings or the ends or half times, they go ole, 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 and ole is the name of the show.
Okay.
So I wanted to have this introduction.
Why don't we
Just
talk?
ole.
Yeah. Why don't we? I'm trying to get I got 5 minutes to get this all set up.
Okay.
But no problem.
Okay, Christopher Rose, Milwaukee Odyssey.
Julie. Yeah.
So if you just look out for those names.
Yep, and just email and just say this. Remember me? I was asking about this, and then we'll put it together.
Thank you, Julie.
Absolutely no problem. Awesome. I'm gonna write some bumper music for some of the other shows.
Nice.
Yeah. And they're like, well, how much do you charge? I'm like, for this community, it's free. But for anybody else, it costs money. So, I don't know how to.
He said that was the most fun he's had on the phone in 10 years.
That's the phone one. I'm gonna disconnect the phone one for tonight because we don't need it. So we just need, I'm honestly not 100% sure. About what? There's one other thing I need to do. I've never had to operate this before. Jacob's always done it. Oh, super, thank you. Now maybe you can walk me through this because honestly, Jacob's always done it and he's running late. I forgot what I'm doing. So this is my guy for the iPod. And that slider must be.
This one says aux.
It's here, so that must be that one. Okay, got it. I just unplugged your phone thing. I'll put it back, but we're gonna get a 4th mic in here.
Oh, okay.
Somebody's bringing it.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
up until then, what do I need to do to get these mics to operate?
I don't. Okay. Test. Somebody turned the mics all the way down.
Oh, I did.
Oh.
I did that just
you were
so.
you were gonna set levels. And
Yeah, I
stuff?
was gonna
Okay.
set levels.
Yeah.
So which one is this?
They're
Oh, they're marked. Oh my God, you guys are good.
pieces of tape. 1, 2, and
Coolness.
3.
So that's
and
one.
Just track 1, track 2, and track 3.
Okay, so I'd see meters. Oh, I'm seeing some meters. I am seeing meters.
And I'm hearing.
I'm hearing and we're seeing meters. This is what we want. But see now, I don't know what this means. I understand this.
Uh-huh.
I don't understand that and that. I don't know if I'm overloading or if I'm not.
No, you're fine.
I'm fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my meter up there with the green?
That's what's going out to the stream. And
That's good,
as long as it doesn't turn like orange.
Right, so that's how I can gauge. Okay, so Emily, what number do you have?
That's 3.
With any player, like I found it right about like 3/4 volume from anything, and the mixer at 0 or between 0 and -5 is always pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, and once you get this set up here, you can just like raise and lower it there if you want.
Yep.
You can also,
Actually, working with the trim is a more professional way to get the sound.
well, when you're first setting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way I've always done gain structure, but just because
Yeah.
this opens up the channel for maximum output, and then you kind of, you're controlling your input volume
Oh
here.
yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
No,
I don't
no,
know
that's
if you-
okay. That's okay.
I don't know what you know. You know what I mean?
I actually brought this here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I had no idea.
It's cool.
So
It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I'm saying like once you get everything set up, if you're happy with this, you just use these. It's easier.
Okay, got it. Yeah, we usually do that between songs.
Yeah, and
Okay.
to get this on, all you have to do is turn it on there.
Okay.
And that doesn't have a trim. You just use the
Right.
fader.
And he told me to keep it down, so I definitely will. He said keep it right around there.
Well, just whatever sounds good, because you're not actually hearing what's coming out of this compressor.
Right.
It's
Okay.
compressing the hell out of everything so it doesn't overload
Okay.
the stream.
There's something like that, yeah.
Do you guys remember how last week we had the mixer like really super low when you were playing music? It works much better, like I found out, if you just put the device at like 3/4 volume, then you put the mixer between 0 and -5, and it like distorts much less, and it should just sound better.
So yeah, I've got it set up
What was it supposed to bring?
for -5. Let me make sure my volume itself is down.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how she brought that. I was told to
3/4.
grab the microphone cable.
And the stand, and I brought the mic, so. Well, I think we're just about, we should get started like in a minute, so.
Do Spencer and Jacob, do either one of you have a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch adapter?
I do on my headphone.
Perfect.
Don't I need it for my headphones?
Well, 1/4 inch to 1/8.
The other way.
Because this week we have 1/8 inch.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I thought you.
Actually, he's okay, because look, see, you're using, we're okay.
You do have 1/8 inch.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I just
We're all good.
So we've already.
Either
got-
way will work.
So if we've got 3 pairs of headphones already that are going into the 1/4 inch,
We're all good.
could I
Yeah.
use my extender?
You could.
Because then I can use the adapter?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yes,
Thank you.
let's use the extender.
You think you're ready to go?
Almost. I'm kind of ready, but
Oh, yeah, right.
Like, at that point, you should have gone
Extended.
And you're actually recording this from home, right?
I am. Yeah. But if you guys are recording it, that's good to have a backup.
Yeah. It's recording on the computer and back.
I'm recording it on Pro Tools and stereo, and it sounds kind of nice. So did we start? Are we broadcasting at this moment?
Oh, it looks like it.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Hey, isn't that kind of fun to have the audience kind of see as we're calmly and collectively and coolly just sort of getting things together here? There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Jacob? There is. I don't know if it's going to reach. We might have to get cozy.
Here, actually, it's. Here, 1 second. Yeah.
Right on. Ah!
Is that good? You got enough room there?
What's your name again?
Ross.
Ross, I'm sorry. And the guy with the glasses, what's his name? Not Zav, the other guy.
Glasses, his glasses.
Oh, the skinny guy? Nick.
Okay.
You're set.
Pardon?
Are you all set?
I think so.
Awesome.
We ready? Let me get levels on your mic, Spence. What number are you?
Check, 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 check.
There should be a number on your microphone. Oh, you're the extra mic, so. All right, lay it on me, man.
Check, 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 check. Checkzilla.
All right, Jacob.
Check, check. Yeah, I mean, sounds about the same volume as his was.
And yours?
Check, 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 check.
And here's mine.
Check.
We seem to be the same. Awesome. Let's do it. It's 8 o'clock. It's 8:05. It's okay. River West time.
True.
All right.
Got to take my cough medicine this week.
Just remember to mute the mics.
Good evening, Milwaukee, River West, and possibly the globe. Welcome to Compose Yourself with Julie Brandenburg. This is a talk show about local music as well as a radio workshop for songwriters and composers. We are broadcasting from the River West Film and Video Headquarters on Center Street in the heart of beautiful downtown River West. Each week, I will have a panel of songwriters, composers, students, and listeners here to share songs and discuss the craft of songwriting and composing. With me today in the studio is Jacob Mushin, bass player for the Freddie Lee Band, Emily Zimmer, guitar player for the Freddie Lee Band, and Spencer Powers, who is the drummer for Tiger Mouth and Shroud of Despondency. The theme for today's show is modern, serious composition. Shall I say that again? Modern, serious composition.
Do.
I was inspired to do... Go ahead. Very good. I was inspired to do this because I had a long overdue lunch with my former composition teacher, Yehuda Yanai, whose music we will be discussing in a moment. So when I say modern composition or serious modern composition, what does that make you think of?
Well, I get what you mean with the modern part, but what makes it serious or more serious than other compositions?
That is a very good question. I think that people are struggling to describe the kind of music that is an academic tradition, because we've had labels, Romantic era, Baroque era, Classical era is one of the eras. And then all of a sudden we get into 20th century, contemporary. But contemporary has, people were calling music contemporary music in 1918 and 1920. So now what do we say? So now people are saying serious composition or modern classical composition. But you're right. Why the word serious? I mean, I know that some of my friends who have heavy metal bands and zydeco bands and folk bands and Irish bands, they're pretty darn serious. Mm-hmm. So what does it mean? What do you think it means, Emily?
I think it means intelligent composition. Not that any of those things aren't intelligent, but I guess you have to have a little bit of education behind you to be writing this kind of stuff. Whether it's now, I didn't specify what kind of education. Okay.
Right.
Certainly, these are academically respected styles. and unfortunately many other styles aren't. But you don't necessarily have to have gone to college to do this. Yeah, it's deep. I don't know. It goes in depth.
Sure.
It's really hard to put into words, I guess.
We are struggling. We are struggling.
yeah.
I'm struggling to answer that question. That was a really good question.
Well, there's a whole different set of rules for writing classical music, isn't there?
Is there?
Well, you know, certain things you have to follow, and then certain things you have to go beyond, I guess.
Right.
You know.
I would say that I agree with that statement from the standpoint of people who are trying to write serious, modern, contemporary classical music are trying to do so with an understanding of music history, what has been done, what rules have been made and worked with in the past, and then working to break those rules and to move beyond those rules. So I would agree that a lot of modern, serious composition people have a very wide awareness of the past and the music theory of the past and how to expand what was done and do something different or do something in response or do something contrary. And that's what you were kind of addressing, Emily.
Well, that's definitely the in-depth, well-rounded, knowledgeable way to compose, you know?
Right, and that's what we think of. I mean, I'm not trying to trip you guys up. I myself struggle with this definition and how I can explain this to people. So the issues that you're having struggling to talk about it are the same issues I struggle with as a teacher to explain it. Right now at the Art Museum, there's an exhibit called Accidental Genius. And what that exhibit is about is people who have created artwork, visual artwork, that they have not been trained. So they did not go to college for it. They did not have training. Some of them were operating from different various viewpoints of mental illness or destitution. Some people were perfectly happy, sane individuals who just thought, I think I'm going to take up painting. I know I'm 60, but let's see what happens. And they turned out to have this great natural gift for it. So the training part of it is what we think of when we think of serious classical music, and yet I've heard of so many composers that don't know what the heck they're doing. We listened to a piece by Jerry Haupa a few weeks ago that, if we have time today, I'd like to replay, called Anger. And while he's using electric guitars and drums and bass and distortion and the whole 9 yards, I compare his music to Xenakis, who's a academic composer, and Jerry doesn't have a clue, he'll be the first to admit, what the heck he's doing, but he's got that innate sense of form and figures and composition. So we do think of academic immediately. That's immediately what I think of. But then I think about the experiences that I've had with people who don't have training and still yet come up with some really wonderful things. What do you think, Jacob?
It's all about getting the real organic sound if you're going to call yourself serious, as opposed to, trying to actually emulate a sound of something, not necessarily just another artist. But we saw a classical act where they were trying to mimic the sound of moving through train cars on a moving train, and having all the instruments playing different things like that that's a serious composition, trying to...
Well, and then speaking of, the training part of it, I've got a lot of training, but I started composing before I had training. What the training has done for me is helped me to understand on a theoretical level what it was that I was kind of doing organically. I know you had that experience too. You played music long before you knew, Emily, what it meant.
Right. Well, one thing that I try to tell my students regarding that matter is by learning theory, by putting names to what you're doing, you what it can do for you is kind of give you tools for your toolbox, tools to use to do the things that you're already doing.
Right on.
And for some people, those tools provide a pathway toward what they are toward guiding what they're naturally doing. And for other people, they don't necessarily need that pathway. They can understand it through sound and feel and soul, and some people do a little bit of both at different times.
Absolutely. You're right on the money with that. It's really good that you're telling your students that, because some people resist the music theory training because they think that somehow that's going to make them stale. It's going to make them...
It's just tools for your toolbox. I use that analogy with the kids all the time. It's just tools for your toolbox.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And honestly, when I'm really inspired to write something, I'm just like a child. Like when I was writing my first things when I was 10, 11, 12, I'm not thinking about, well, if I start on the 1, would I like to create a cadence moving from 4 to 5? I think it would create some tension if I threw in a diminished chord right at the moment of... I don't think about any of that. I'm thinking about, what do I want to hear? I'm thinking about imagery. I'm thinking about a movie. I've got a movie going on in my head. And I'm thinking about, how would that sound? How would this vision of what is in my head, or what I'm looking at, or what I'm feeling, how does that sound? And if I were watching a string quartet, what would I want to hear? And then I write it. Later on, I'm like, oh, what do you know? I don't even have a 5 chord in this song, or I don't even go to a tonal center in this piece. Later on, the theory's working in the background. And like you said, Spencer, there is a reference to academia, and there is a reference point where I'm like, well, I could go to a 5 here. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, that's been kind of done. Maybe I could find a different chord. Or maybe I could find something else to do here. So it's not like it's completely shut off. It's there, but it's running in the background more than it is something that's an obvious controlling thing.
True, I agree with that. I mean, I'm at the point where I use the named tools in my toolbox, the theory, some of the time, but most of the time when I'm writing, I just play what's coming out of me. Now that learning the theory and everything has given me a lot of new ideas, and that's what makes it fun, and a lot of new pathways. But, I think I would have come around to just as innovative of things, I think, if I weren't using the theory necessarily, because I don't sit there and think about what I'm, what the name of everything I'm doing is necessarily.
Well, Emily, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Do you think that part of it is learning the music theory just gives you a couple shortcuts so you don't have to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, I do think that. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it can open up new ideas or be pathways to things that maybe you wanted to do, but you didn't really know how or what was going on there. I feel like it also is a means of communication. It's putting a spoken language into a written language, which can, of course, as we know, with our spoken language of English and our written language can allow you to do more because you can communicate it to other people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, most musicians who know that much theory, you could play them a melody and they'd be able to play it back to you. Or you could give them a CD of your songs and they'd be able to learn the part. So they work together, and sometimes separately, but sometimes together.
Sure.
I mean, there are all pathways. There are many shades of methods of composing.
Absolutely. In fact, that you bring this up, let's talk about the contrast between Mozart and Beethoven. Mozart, everything was just like you see in the movie. Now, the movie Amadeus, which is an oldie but goodie, that movie really depicts a lot of fiction, and it's fun, but it really depicts a couple of truths about Mozart, and the fact that he really did write clean manuscripts, first drafts he had in mind. He was very mentally organized. So he would just simply write down finished pieces in the kind of structures that he had imagined in his mind. And then a couple decades later, you get Beethoven, late classical, early romantic composer. He's just the opposite. He labors and erases and crumples up pieces of paper and then digs it out of the garbage and pastes it back on the score and agonizes over this music. Which way is the right way?
They both are, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mozart was just an amazing child prodigy. I mean, he was already composing by the time he was like 5 or 6, I think.
That's true.
And yeah, just but Beethoven, I'm sure it didn't help that he started losing his hearing even in his mid or late 20s. So that makes it all the more difficult to really through compose your ideas.
That may be true. I don't think that can be a statement that could be proven or disproven. I know that his methods of agonizing over his work preceded the hearing loss. I do know that after the hearing loss, he was, in my mind, the first heavy metal composer because dum bum bum bum. Come on, that's a heavy metal lick.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
It's pretty dark.
Pretty dark stuff.
And when you're losing your hearing, you're not very happy, and you also want it to be loud. But for him, you know, he really did hear all of this in his head. People ask me, how is it possible that Beethoven was able to compose without hearing? And it must have been agonizing to